Hello everyone, welcome to True Fan Forum. Originally, in honor of Halloween, I had wanted to do a series of videos where I discuss some of my favorite things in horror, authors and movies and such. Unfortunately, because of work and other scheduling problems and just the fact that I get extremely exhausted after I come home from work, I really couldn't make the videos I wanted to in the time frame I wanted to. But rather than just let those ideas I have been started thinking about go, I decided every now and then I will still put in a video of one of my favorite horror things intermingled with my other videos. Because again, I really like the ideas I had. I really want to talk about them. I just don't want to let them go. So I will make horror related videos later on. That being said, in this video, I want to talk about one of my favorite horror franchises of all times, Tremors. I tell you, folks, I love these movies because each movie to me is just this wonderful blend of horror and action and comedy that just keeps me riveted every time I see them. And again, I've pretty much seen most of the movies several times each, and I have yet to get sick of them. I mean, I enjoy them as much, every single time, the same way every single time. I just haven't gotten tired of them. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot about the plots of the movies because I really don't want to spoil anything for people who haven't seen them but might be interested in watching the movies. However, I do want to talk a lot about the creatures in the movies because, they're awesome. They're obviously the central part of the movies. If I didn't talk about them, this would be a really, really short video. So if you don't want to know about the creatures, just mute the video. Wait till I'm done because I do want to talk about a couple of other things after that. Don't stop watching the video, please don't. Just mute it, wait around. I guess when I'm done, maybe I'll wave my hands or something, let you know that I'm done talking about the monsters. But before I get into that, I wanted to mention a little bit about the setting of three of the movies, specifically the first, third, and fourth movie, since they all take place in the same area, and it's, obviously it's an important area, especially in the first movie because it sets up the entire franchise. Anyway, those movies, the first, third, and fourth movie, all take place in the very small, middle of nowhere town in Nevada called Perfection. Again, no, again, it's really nothing. It's a few trailers, a few people, a couple of ranches, and miles of nothing but desert and cliffs and mountains. There's like one road that leads in and out of the valley the town is in, and like the nearest other town is like 30 miles away. And that kind of becomes important story-wise because since it's so isolated that when the characters get cut off from pretty much everything else, they have to handle the monsters on their own because they know nobody's coming to help them, and the idea that they can make it to out of the valley and to find help is slim to nil. In fact, it's non-existent. So again, just wanted to mention the setting because it's very important. It's very important to those movies, and it helps set up the tone for the movies. And that being said, let me discuss the creatures of the movies, called graboids. So again, if you want to mute the video right now, do so if you don't want to listen about the creatures. Anyway, the creatures, they're called graboids, and these graboids are these just desert-dwelling, massive worm-like creatures. They must be like 20 to 30 feet long. They've got these big beak-like mouths. They look like they're made out of bone or something similar to rhinoceros horn or horse hooves. And yeah, they are big. They are extremely fast burrowers. So if you're on foot and you try to outrun them, chances are you will not make it. They will overtake you. Now, being worm-like and subterranean in nature, graboids do not have eyes or perhaps not even a really sense of smell. Instead, they hunt through sensing vibrations and sound waves. In fact, they're so sensitive to vibrations that even a simple footstep is enough to draw their attention. Now, graboids get their name through the way they hunt. You see, each graboid has these three long tentacles that come out of their mouths, and each tentacle has its own tooth-filled mouth, which just looks really creepy. So anyway, the way they hunt is once they sense a sound or some sort of vibration, they go over to whatever it is they sense, they send out their tentacles, the tentacles grab onto their prey, hence the name graboids, and they drag whatever it is back into their mouth, and basically they swallow their prey whole like snakes. And I gotta tell you folks, you see a couple people being swallowed in the movies, and oh, it is not a pretty way to die. Oh no, not by any stretch of the imagination. Now, your best thing to do when you're confronted with graboids is first and foremost get to high ground. If you're indoors, get to the roof of the building, get to the second floor if it has one. Just get up high. If you're outside, again, find high ground. Like mostly, since it's desert, that means a big rock. And that's important because while graboids are extremely fast and can burrow easily through loose soil like sand and dirt, they can't penetrate rock. So if you find a big rock, hop onto it, they can't burrow through it, and if it's big enough, their tentacles can't reach you. And also, so once you get to high ground, or just in general, be very quiet. Make as little movement as possible, make as little sound as possible. And unfortunately though, even though you do get to high ground, graboids tend to be very tenacious predators. So once they sense prey, they will not leave it alone. So, so once you get to high ground, again, don't move, make very little noise, or better yet, make a distraction. Find something that will make noise or make vibrations, set it off somewhere that's far away from you, or a distance away from you, and hopefully the graboids will turn attention to that, and you can try to get away. Now, one interesting enough, in the second and third movies, they show that graboids are actually just the first stage of a longer life cycle. In the second movie, called Tremors 2 Aftershocks, we discover that once graboids, I guess, consume enough food or just after a certain amount of time goes by, each graboid will sort of split open and release three new creatures called Shriekers. Now, Shriekers and graboids differ in many various ways. First off, there's the size. Shriekers are a lot smaller than graboids. I would say height-wise, they're about the size of a large breed of dog. Well, they're about as tall as a large breed of dog, like maybe a Saint Bernard or something. And they're also a lot shorter. Shrieker bodies are really compact. They're basically a torso, a stubby tail, and a sort of rudimentary head that is mostly just another beak-like mouth. Now, Shriekers also have legs. So, unlike graboids that burrow underground, Shriekers run along the surface, and they're actually pretty fast. They're a lot faster than they look. Now, another big difference between Shriekers and graboids is that Shriekers do not see, they do not hear, and they don't sense vibrations. Instead, they hunt through sensing heat. And they have this special sort of heat-sensing organ on top of their heads, which is protected by a sort of bony flap that rises and lowers as they go. So again, they basically hunt whatever is hot, whether it's a piece of machinery, a car engine, or a human. They look for whatever's hot. They also don't have the weird tentacle tongue mouth things. They just have a long tongue, which does not have a mouth. Now, and there's a reason they're called Shriekers, is in that, obviously enough, they shriek. And when they shriek, they release a sort of pulse of heat. And that heat is actually how Shriekers communicate with each other. Again, Shriekers do not hear, nor do they seem to be sensitive to vibrations like graboids. So the sound they make is immaterial. It's the heat that they respond to and communicate with each other with. Let's see. Oh, and also, it was discovered that when Shriekers consume enough food, they're able to then reproduce asexually, and they sort of just spit out another Shrieker, which is just gross. And that baby Shrieker can then grow to maturity at an extremely fast rate. So basically, in a limited amount of time, it reaches maturity and it's able to reproduce itself. So basically, if you give Shriekers an ample enough food source for allow them to reproduce, you can end up with a small army of those creatures in just maybe an hour or two, or even less. So that makes them even more dangerous. Because again, graboids, you can have one, two, three, whatever, how many graboids. But Shriekers, they eat enough. Boom, 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 boom. You're overrun with Shriekers, which is really, really scary. Now, in the third movie, we discover that once Shriekers, I guess, uh, enough time goes by, Shriekers then sort of molt or change, and they become a brand new creature called, and you have to pardon my language, but this is actually what they're called in the movies, ass blasters. Sorry, folks. I like to keep my channel rated G, PG, but again, that's what they're called. Now, these ass blasters are similar to Shriekers, and again, they're same sort of body form, torso, tail, mouth, legs. But those creatures seem to be a lot sleeker than Shriekers, which are always sort of blocky and sort of just chubby. Now the creatures also are sense and hunt through the use of sensing heat. Now the reason they get their name, which I'm not going to repeat again, is that they can create this sort of chemical reaction in their rear ends, which they then release as a blast of fire, which is strong enough to actually propel them into the air. And once they're in the air, they can actually fly, or at least glide, through the use of these, I guess you would call them wings, but to me they look more like fins than something you would see on a bird or a bat. So that makes them even more dangerous, because again, at least with Shriekers and Graboids, you have the advantage of getting to high ground. With these new creatures, that advantage is gone, because again, they can now fly, come at you from the sky. Oh, which is just another complication. Now, in Tremors 5, which is called Bloodlines, they don't introduce a new form. It's Graboid. It still sticks with Graboids, Shriekers, and pardon me, ass blasters, which apparently they lay eggs, which then turn into Graboids, completing their whole circle of life. Cue Lion King soundtrack. Anyway, no, but again, in what Tremors 5 does is, since it takes place in South Africa, it shows a sort of variant on the Graboids we're used to. Again, it's they're similar properties, different look, and they also have some incredibly different ways of hunting and other changes that make the Graboid stage and the blaster stage different, creepy in its own way, and dangerous for unique ways. Now, I don't want to really discuss how they differ. I really don't want to discuss how they differ, because the fifth movie is a bit newer to me. It's a bit newer. It was only made in 2015. The other movies were made in sort of the late 80s through the 90s, and then in the early 2000s. So I feel that whatever statute limitations are there on spoilers is over with. But with Tremors 5 being new, I really don't want to get into it because I don't want to spoil anything. So again, not going to spoil anything there. However, let's just say that the South African version of the Graboids are really creepy looking, and they just complicate things more and more. I have to tell you folks that I like the idea that the movies do of just changing the creatures up from one movie to the next. And that makes it interesting because, again, it adds new complications, new dangers that the characters who might be familiar with Graboids and the other forms, they have to deal with. Because, again, it's like, and that actually is what I think makes the movie so much fun. It's adding something new, something different. So it's not just the same monsters every single time. Because that, to me, gets boring. That's actually what I feel is the problem with long-running horror franchises, is that they get boring because eventually it's the same monster or it's the same killer doing the same thing again and again and again with very little variation. So I love the Tremors franchise for taking the monsters, making them different, and adding new wrinkles and new complications and new dangers that the characters have to face. So again, kudos for the franchises for doing that and for keeping things fresh. Okay folks, so I'm done discussing the monsters So you can please put up the volume again. Okay, so after discussing the movie, I do want to discuss one actor who has been in all five of the movies. His name is Michael Gross, and he plays Burt Gummer, a sort of survivalist, conspiracy theorist, sort of a wacko who just happens to have enough weaponry to outfit a small army. Now, while he might not be exactly a pleasant person to be around, and he's kind of creepy in his own way, when it comes to dealing with giant monsters, he is exactly the type of guy you want on your side when these monsters attack. Because basically, he's kind of been preparing for a crisis like this his entire life. He has tactics, he has ideas. As I said before, he has guns. Lots and lots of guns and explosives and the knowledge on how to use them. So again, he might not be that fun to hang around with, but when it comes to facing giant monsters, you want him on your team because he definitely ups your chances of survival. It's not guaranteed, but your chances of survival are a lot better than it would be without him and his resources and his many, many, many guns. Now again, as I said, Michael Gross has been in all these movies, which is really interesting when it comes to Tremors 4, which is called The Legend Begins. Because Tremors 4 is actually a prequel is actually a prequel to the previous three movies. And this one, Tremors 4, it takes place in a town of Perfection in the late 1800s when Perfection was just a small mining town. And actually, Michael Gross actually plays the ancestor of the character of the plays in the other movies, Burt Gummer. And it's really fun to see that because the two Gummers are extremely different. So it's just fun to see the same actor playing two very different characters who are yet nonetheless related. So I just love Tremors 4 for being a prequel. It's fun to see again Michael Gross playing such a different character, but still somehow the same character than he plays in the other movies. I just like the idea of that actor being in all of the movies because it just ties everything together. And really, Burt Gummer is sort of one of the most fun parts of the movie because again, he's just wacky, and it seems like he gets wacky with every new movie. So again, I love his performance in Tremors. I've seen Michael Gross in a few other things, some TV shows, and maybe another movie, and he's just a really fine actor. But I have to say, Burt Gummer and his ancestor are just some of my favorite roles of his ever. Another interesting note on Tremors is that there was a very short-lived TV show that appeared on the Sci-Fi Channel, I think somewhere in the 2000s. Unfortunately, that show lasted only one season and it was canceled. But interestingly, it still stars or has Michael Gross in it playing Burt Gummer. So again, I love that connection to it. I read somewhere that maybe they might decide to remake that TV show. Haven't heard about it. Unfortunately, I don't have the TV show on DVD. Apparently, it is out on DVD. I tell you, folks, I have to rectify that because now that I know that the TV show exists, I kind of want to add it to my collection. I want that show. Ooh, and also another fun note. Apparently, there is talk that there will be a sixth Tremors movie, which apparently will be Michael Gross in it. And interestingly enough, Kevin Bacon will be in it. Now, Kevin Bacon was in the first movie, and apparently he might come back to the sixth movie, which is really exciting. Because I gotta tell you, and mentioning that, I have to say, folks, that the first movie had a very interesting cast. I mean, in addition to Michael Gross, it had Kevin Bacon in one of his really early roles. It also had Reba McEntire, which is kind of interesting. And it helps you think, you have to remember, even though Reba McEntire is a country music star, she's also done a fair share of acting. Specifically, I think, 2 sitcoms. So that's interesting. You also had Fred Ward was in the first movie and in the second movie, which is interesting to note. If you don't know who Fred Ward is, look him up. He's been in a lot of things. He's a very interesting actor, very cool actor in my opinion. Oh, and Tremors 5 also starred Jamie Kennedy, which was interesting. I haven't watched a lot of Jamie Kennedy, so I don't have much of an opinion on him as an actor, but I liked him in Tremors 5. Um, yeah, so that's basically it, folks. That's all I have much wanted to say. Yeah, to sum it all up, I love the Tremors franchise. Each and every single movie, I love it. I I really, really hope they do make a sixth movie. I hope Kevin Bacon's in it. I have to get the TV show because I'm sure I will love it no matter what. Again, I just love this franchise. The monsters are cool. The characters in all the movies are fun and quirky, and doesn't really fall into standard horror movie stereotypes. Love Michael Gross playing survivalist kind of nut job. Burt Gummer, who again is he's so important that that's him. That is Burt Gummer in the box art for this anthology, and that look is basically him. That basically sums up his character in one image. So again, love that. Love the Graboids and all their resultant forms. Again, just get this, get these movies, folks. Tremors is a fantastic series of horror movies that just to me never get old, never get dull. Just a whole lot of fun every single time I watch any of the movies. So again, that's it, folks. That's all I gotta say about this just wonderful franchise. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to leave a comment if you would like, but please, please be respectful. I do ask that. And again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.